Good morning, viewer. I am back with some wood to split. I have cut all of this wood here, some down here, and it's all oak and hickory, mostly hickory, cut down, and a little bit of gum, which is awful, but I will include. This was cut down in mid-December, early December 24, and I went to my neighbor's house who had these piles. He's like, man, come get some of this wood. So I have obliged him, and I'm going to split it into firewood. I am going to create a series out of this, and I'm going to call it 7 Axes in 7 Days. I'm going to spend the next week a little bit every morning before my square job. I am going to split wood from this trailer to see if I can get it all split, and each day I'm going to use a different axe. So I hope you enjoy. I'm just going to adjust my camera here a little closer. You know, I don't edit and put music in that stuff. There we go. Sorry, it's all bare bones, but it's just how I do it. I don't make money. I don't try to make money. This is just for fun. Today's axe is the Hytest 4.5 pound vintage, and one of these tiny little handles. Let's see what it can do. I'm gonna try to mix the wood up too. So this is mostly like upper limb wood, which can be really hard to split on hickory. Sometimes it's really easy, but then I've got a lot of trunk wood too. I'm not including the oak in that equation because it's typically easy no matter what. But so I'm going to try to use each axe for the limb wood and some of the trunk pieces, just to kind of show you how they all perform. Now, again, this was cut in December. It has not hit the punky stage, but it has kind of hit the spalty stage, and I think that's going to make it 90% the same as green wood with just a little bit of difficulty thrown in. But we'll see. I split a few pieces yesterday. Some were easy peasy and some were a little crispy. We'll see. And I guess I'll just use this round to split it. And you know, these are some small mini pieces in here, no big deal. They get a little bigger, a little longer. These are the right size for a single split, just to open them up. I did put the moisture meter on this stuff yesterday, and the hickory was running just at 25%, which is on the high end of the moisture threshold for firewood, but in a pinch, you could probably burn some of it with some dry stuff. And hickory's one of those woods that back in the old days, supposedly they burned relatively green to last longer. And here's the gum. You want to see a bouncer? Here we go. Actually, that split okay. Because it's kind of rotten. What makes this limb wood tricky is not only just limbs are crooked, but there's lots of crotches in them. This is a triple crotch. But as per usual, we'll go from the roots up, or flip the tree upside down to split it. And that helps with that. I'm probably going to do some test burning on this stuff to see how bad or wet it really is. The piece I did split was, and check, was like one of these guys, which wasn't like a 14-foot log. Oh, I did that. I gotta split it. So I'm interested to see the difference between that and like a 10-12 inch piece from a true log. But you can see the boars have gotten into it. Hickory wood, and if you've cut it, you know this, is notoriously messy with the bugs. These little bugs, powder post beetles, get in and create this fine dust everywhere as they bore into it. Doesn't hurt the firewood, except creates these little pockets of moisture retention. It's kind of a bigger piece here. Pre-split. This stuff's splitting pretty good so far. Maybe stacking the deck a little bit with this split piece, but it's got some funny grain to it. I haven't cut wood all summer. I think the last wood that I cut up was either this hickory from the same pile in the spring or some Bradford pear that you've seen if you've watched my channel, seen me do either one. I've done videos on both of them. I can't remember which one was the last one, but it was Mayish time. And I didn't cut any wood this summer, and that may seem like, well, yeah, who cuts wood in the summertime? But this would be the first year in at least 10 that I haven't cut some summertime wood. It's October now. It's crisp this morning, about 50 degrees, which is pretty nice, but it's gonna warm up back in the 80s. So I'm hoping even that a week or the beginnings of a week in the 80s will dry out some of this stuff. But I've got pretty good stacks. In case it doesn't. I can't imagine it would be dry enough to truly burn this winter, but maybe. Anyway, back to summer cutting. I always cut wood in the summertime, and I get the looks because it's hot, and it is definitely miserable to run a chainsaw if it's above about 80 degrees. It's miserable to run it at 80 degrees, but if you get above that, it's even worse. But this year I didn't, and it's because I wasn't sure kind of what the future was going to hold with our place. We thought about maybe moving, and that's still actually on the table, and I didn't want to spend too much time moving firewood just to stack it when I could move it and sell it, or sell it and move it that way. I've sold 4 loads of wood already. Can't believe people haven't waited till usually people wait till it gets cold before they call, but this year they've done some preemptive ordering, which is very nice. Usually they wait till it's about 50 degrees. I'm like, who needs firewood? This year they've got ahead of the game. That's cool. So if we end up moving, which again, I don't know if that's going to be the case, but if we do, then I will have moved the wood via delivery to paying customers versus moving it from one stack here to another stack over there. Little oak too, little red oak on this one. I got red and just a hair of white maybe. So the difference you'll see here, you can see, is this all cut the exact same day in December. There's a 3/4 of an inch of sapwood on this oak that has gone punky. Now sapwood on oak, when it's fresh and seasons, is just as good as the heartwood as far as BTUs goes, but it does get punky on both white and red oak. And it doesn't matter all that much, except that it is messier. It does retain moisture longer when it's seasoning, so if it rains on this part's always going to be wet. So it's never ideal to let it get to this point, but we did. And you'll notice the difference is on the hickory. Even though hickory wood does not last as long, like it's not considered an outdoor durable wood, she's solid all the way through. So even the mighty oak has a little give and take. And the moisture content on this oak, cut the same day as that hickory in the same pile, was 30%, which is too wet. It's just too wet to burn. Now, that's water content most likely, not water and sap. I know that sounds, hey, of course it's water content. I know it sounds kind of silly, but the seasoning of the wood is to dry out all the natural juices in the wood, and pure water is part of that equation, but not all of it. There's other stuff in there, right? It may not be a large percentage, but it's other stuff. Well, oak, especially red oak, open ring porous, it's like a sponge. Those rings stay full of moisture and they absorb new moistures. So even though you think, oh, this oak tree's been dead for 2 years or 3 years, the sapwood is rotting off. That heartwood's always gonna be too daggum wet to burn. White oak's not as bad, but it is still an oak. It's still classified. Here's a piece of white oak. Big wave right there. Again, super punky sapwood, super solid heartwood. I'm not going to go nuts. Like I said, I'm going to try and do this over 7 days, 7 different axes, because that sounds fun. Also, I haven't been swinging the axe all summer, so I need to, dare I say, get back in the swing of things. Plus, moving these big rounds around is good total body. White oak. This white oak, even though that sapwood is gone and it's going to be kind of a messy wood, I will definitely leave it till next year. And I like to leave my oak a tad larger than other woods. I just find that it burns for a little bit longer time, especially the white oak. So it's a good stove wood. So it's okay if those pieces are a little bit bigger, relatively speaking. Okay. One more that I need to get moving. Well, one more little one, and then one more big one. This is feeling good. And I need a bit of a challenge here to end it. Allegedly, we'll see. Okay. All right, here's some hickory that was on the ground, pre-cut, meaning the last time I saw this was either May or December, but we didn't cut it all the way up for some reason. It had a little bit hanging on down here. That was cut off fresh. It matters so much to cut on. Hickory is one of those woods that old cut, versus fresh cut. Fresh cut matters on hickory. Even the stuff that's semi-dry, as you cut it, it opens up more because it's so dry. It's harder to split than greenwood. But the seasoned cut, like this, can make it challenging. Cherry is a good example of that. Sugar maple can be like that too. Most woods can. We'll see. This one may be a piece of cake because it's straighter grain. Yeah, it's gonna go. And that's 10 months on the ground. See some spalt, some bug, chewage, but and there are conditions to be considered. We had a really wet spring here. Wet spring and early summer was really nice. Spring it rained almost every day, so that's a factor. But the late summer into July, August, and September, especially September, was drought level. So it got wet when it was green, when it was semi-green. Then it dried up really big. Oops. But it was also stacked up on logs in some cases. In some cases it was on the ground. Some cases it was covered in sawdust from the May cut. And so not truly open air. There's some deeper spalt in there in that piece. I say all that to say this wasn't off the ground in the sunshine. This was on the ground or on a pile of logs in the shady woods all summer long, which is a factor in seasoning for sure. But it goes to show you that even in less than ideal conditions, the wood can last. Now, the other thing that I think is probably part of the deal is these were in log stacks. So the ones on the ground, yeah, they're on the ground, but they're being covered by the ones on top. And that literally does prevent some moisture from accumulating on the logs, in the ground, etc. They're also on an elevated position, so there was good drainage and runoff, so none of them were sitting in water. But then the ones on top were sitting on logs. So I think all those things were factors. And also maybe they were just big trees and or a whole lot of wood to rot in not really that long a time. All that to say is I'm very grateful to have it because I need the exercise and it's all premium quality, and as you can see with this old school Hytest, splits pretty good. Let's get one more. Let's finish it off with the question mark with a piece of gum wood. The big piece. Piece that I wouldn't want to wish on anybody. But for you, I'm willing to go through certain trials so that you may not make the same mistakes as I. Now there's bubbly moisture in this, but when I check the meter on this, 32%. Buddy, I said, hey, this is gumwood. He said, is that any good? I said, no. We split a piece and it split pretty good, but you could tell it tore out. all the way split. The only reason I took this is because there was one tree this big in the stack. I thought, well, I'll do him a favor and haul it off too, because he just gave me all this wood. All right, yes, complete. That's all it needs. All right, y'all, see you tomorrow for day 2. 7 days, 7 axes.